The brave men and women who have served our country faithfully often need our help to successfully transition back into civilian life. Brave Radio is here to highlight veterans and the companies who are making a difference in our veteran community. And now, the host of Brave Radio, Eve Nasby.
Welcome to Brave Radio, where we're focused on engaging our veterans and making a difference in our business community. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, here to highlight the best and brightest that San Diego and this nation have to offer. We've got a great show planned today, so let's get started. First up is our wonderful friends from Easter Seals of Southern California. John and Cynthia, welcome.
Thanks, Eve.
We're so glad you're here, John. Welcome back.
Thanks for having us.
You keep coming back week after week. We love this.
Well, we keep coming back. I think we've got a great story to tell, and anything we can do to help support the veteran community and make San Diego a better community, we're all about.
And what better people to come from than you guys, because you're both veterans, so thank you again for your service. You both transitioned successfully out of the military, but obviously had your hitches and challenges along the way, and now you're here to share those the solutions with our listeners and with our veterans. So last week, we talked about a few interesting things. We talked about repositioning your resume, rewriting your resume. What's the next step in this process of transitioning?
Well, there's a lot of transition challenges that are associated with that. And I think we spend a lot of time with the individual, helping them kind of discover what their passions and interests are, and then translating that into what each individual veteran defines as meaningful for them.
Right.
Our focus is primarily on meaningful employment, but there's a lot of meaningful aspects beyond just finding themselves and then translating their skills.
And I think what you guys talked about before was just because your MOS says you fix helicopters for a living doesn't necessarily mean that you want to do that when you transition out, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think a lot of times the individual veteran puts blinders on themselves. And I also think that the employer world puts blinders on themselves. There's a lot of stereotypes, media, Hollywood kind of depictions, and I think people fall into that trap.
Right. And you know, to that point of stereotypes, I think a lot of folks think that they have to do it on their own, like they're veterans and they've got to do this by themselves. But the truth of the matter is you need your community. You need each other. And I think that you guys have some really interesting connections with services and programs out there for transitioning vets. So can you guys talk about those connections?
There's a multitude of things that individuals need whenever they're making that transition. And it's not just about a job. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And transition is not just a topic that's isolated to the military. It may seem more dramatic because you're going from one culture to another culture. But when people move from one city to another, they experience transition.
Right.
Getting married, getting divorced, having children leaving the house, somebody graduating from college. I mean, everybody goes through these different transitions. And there's all kinds of support, I think, that's needed as part of that.
It is. And that's a really healthy way to go through any of those transitions that you just talked about. And that's having that community. For example, I think you guys were talking about health plans, financial plans, your housing situation. Each one of those can be critical to a veteran in transition. So can you guys talk about some of the resources and services that you turn our veterans onto?
Well, I just wanted to say that regardless of the situation, whether, like John said, you're moving from job to job or city to city, or you're moving from a military or civilian lifestyle, there's a big change. And the bottom word is change. I myself was a veteran, an Air Force veteran of 12 years in the military. I suddenly had to move from city to city and start my life over from Sacramento to San Diego. Mm-hmm. I got out, I was pregnant with my second child, and my husband was getting ready to go on a deployment. So there was big change there.
Lots of stress, lots of change, right?
Lots of change, yes. So I kind of fit into all those, job to job, city to city, military to civilian. And what thing that I found that was really important was to be able to have that network of support. Mm-hmm. Because I struggled so much when I came back trying to build my network from nothing, because I didn't know anyone when I moved here. I realized how important that is for the veterans that we work with each day. So I want to make sure that I am that advocate for them, whether it's to provide resources financially and to connect to them with resources that way, also to help them enroll in school and give them information about their education benefits, as well as provide housing assistance for veterans who are struggling to find a home when they get out. So regardless of what the situation is, also VA benefits that I want to make sure that they're not alone in this process, because I understand how challenging it can be when a veteran is getting out and saying, okay, well, where do I go now?
Right.
So I want to be that advocate to help them find their future and succeed in their goals.
And I know an inside scoop, you're one of the best advocates the Easter Seals of Southern California has. So thank you. You're listening to Brave Radio here on KCBQ AM 1170, streaming live on the web at am1170theanswer.com. Follow us on Twitter at BraveJobs or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with the latest news and trends. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, here with Cynthia and John from Easter Seals of Southern California. So let's talk a little bit more details of what services you provide, and maybe you guys can give an example of someone you've been able to help.
Absolutely. Our services are primarily focused on helping with the transition to achieve meaningful employment as defined by the veteran. So employment is our primary focus. And we've shared in the past how we do that, and we'll continue to do that. But today was to talk about when somebody's looking for employment, there's more to it than just employment, and there's needs beyond that.
That's right.
And we've kind of hit on some of the change aspects, but I think when somebody's going through a transition, they need a multitude of different services. It's kind of like solving an individual problem, and transition's not a problem, but there's a bunch of different aspects of that.
That's right.
So some of it may be finances. Where is the person in their own kind of financial journey? Do they have sound finances? How long can they go without a job? What is the minimum salary? We never really talk about maximum salaries, but is there a minimum salary that somebody needs to kind of maintain the quality of life that they're looking for achieving themselves? And some people during that transition may get into a little bit of a financial hardship. And there are some really wonderful services here in the San Diego area where we can connect that veteran with financial support in case they find themselves in an emergency situation.
So how do we help veterans find the services they may be too proud to ask about?
Well, one thing I do is that when I first initially meet with my veteran, I always give them a phone call, and I try to make them feel at ease right away. One thing I do is I share that I'm a veteran, and I share my personal, struggle and challenges when I meet with them, so that I can let them know immediately they're not alone in this process. And I let them know that no matter what, like you said, I advocate for them like beyond what you can imagine, because I really understand, and I come from a place of understanding of where they're at. So main thing I do is I listen to their personal stories. We all have a personal story. We all have a history of, our transition. And I really get to know them so that I know the best way to be able to connect them with the resources they need. And surprisingly, they're really open, and they allow me to help them the best way I know how.
And if I may say so, I've seen some of the letters that have come back from the veterans that you've helped, and it talks constantly about how you every day called to check up on them. Every day wanted to make sure that they were okay. And that is incredible. There's not a lot of people like you out there who are doing a good thing and doing it well. So thank you. John, an example. Give me an example of where you've been able to help a specific veteran with these types of services.
Well, I'm going to jump right back for just one second with regard to kind of that personal advocating that creates a trust and confidence. And then the individual knows they're not going through this transition by themselves.
Right.
And they're talking and working with somebody that's been there, walked in their shoes, and we can relate to their struggles, challenges, fears, intimidations, rejection that all goes on during that transition. I worked with a young Marine. His name was Michael, and he was transitioning out of the Marine Corps. He'd done his four-year enlistment, and he was having a couple of personal and professional challenges as he was making that transition. Mainly was, how am I going to be able to support my wife, my children, and I don't know what it is that I can do when I get outside of the Marine Corps, because that's all I've known. That's what I'm good at. Well, when we kind of started to peel that back, and an onion, I think, is a really great analogy for this. There's more to it than just getting out of the Marine Corps and finding that transition. He did require some kind of a short-term financial support. A young person in San Diego with a spouse and 2 children, that's a tough environment. And even with the good quality pay and benefits that military members receive, that's still difficult in today's economy. So he needed some emergency financial support, but he also had some healthcare challenges. And while he had some benefits, he needed to think about how he was going to be able to maintain his healthcare benefits for himself and his family when he made that transition. So we talked through those. We were able to connect him with some of the VA medical benefits that would be available to him, as well as some of the other VA benefits that sometimes people don't know to ask unless they're told about them. Could it be their educational benefits? What assistance is available for them for relocating, as well as kind of the long-term benefits of when they pursued their disability rating, the positive impact that that could potentially have for their children for college in the future.
And they're not getting this in depth, right? So nobody's really holding their hand and taking them through this. They're getting so much information thrown at them and whatever sticks in your head after that class.
Right. TAP covers all the topics, but it's coming fast and furious.
Right.
And it's difficult when, if you're thinking, I also need to get back to work.
Yeah.
I'm getting all this information in a very short period of time. How do I even begin to sort through it?
Right.
It's kind of like if you're going to eat an elephant and then the whole elephant's served to you. When we don't endorse the consumption of elephants, by the way. That's a
PETA
metaphor.
calling me.
but it's all about being able to kind of take things in sizable chunks so that you're able to manage that.
Right.
And that's what we help the veterans do with regard to the other services that they may require.
And so you were able to help Michael get plugged into all of these different services.
Absolutely,
How is he doing
including
today?
some legal support that he needed for himself as he was leaving the military. And we were able to connect all them because it's a holistic approach to the transition. And while our service is focused primarily on the employment, there's a lot of other needs. And frankly, it's great to be in San Diego because it's the best Navy town, pro-military place in the world. So we have all these support services that you can reach out and people want to help. But just like the veteran, you can't get the help unless you know to ask for it.
Exactly. We're running out of time on this segment, but Cynthia, I know you have another story and you're going to tee us up for next week's show. So can you please tell us about Danica?
Yes. Danica is a single mom, and she fell on hard times, and she needed to get some housing assistance because she had to leave her current residence due to some health concerns. Mm-hmm. And so what I did was I was able to connect her with housing assistance, moral support. Like I said, like you mentioned earlier, I make sure that I connected with her daily and email, and just wanted to make sure she was okay and felt that she wasn't alone, and gave her that moral support she needed. And I was a huge advocate for all the things that she needed to make sure she was able to connect with the right folks. Mm-hmm. We provided employment support for her as well, so that she was able to find a job, and she'll be able to share more about that later next week, and also with VA benefits. So she has received her VA benefits as well. So
I cannot wait to have her in studio. And for our listeners, set your dial next Monday, 9 o'clock. We're going to meet Danica. Tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you guys.
You can contact us through easterseals.com/Southern Cal.
One more time.
And that's the way to connect with us. easterseals.com, Southern Cal.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Cynthia and John Easter Seals of Southern California. I can't wait till next week.
You don't want to miss it.
No, we don't. You're listening to Brave Radio, where we focus on matching veteran talent with innovative companies that make a difference in our community and in our nation. Follow us on Twitter at Brave Jobs or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with the latest news and trends. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, and we will be right back after this short break to talk to our good friend Sean Mahoney about the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. Don't go away. Tired of your employees being late?
There was so much traffic.
Tired of poor excuses and poor presentations?
My kid ate my homework.
Tired of employees just not being able to handle the pressure?
You mean I gotta work a full 8 hours today?
Skip the hassles and excuses and hire individuals that are trained in leadership, confident in their abilities, adaptable to change, and focused on teamwork. Hire a veteran. More than just a patriotic gesture, hiring a veteran of the United States military comes with a host of benefits and tax credits and can provide your company with valuable leadership, organization, and accountability. Allow the Brave to help your progressive business connect with qualified veteran candidates today and find out more by visiting thebrave.us. That's THEBRAVE.us.
Easter Seals Work First Military and Veteran Services provides free one-on-one personalized employment assistance for local veterans through their Bob Hope Veteran Support Program. Easter Seals' team of employment specialists is dedicated to achieving successful, long-term job placements that benefit both the veteran and the employer. Learn more about how you can receive services, connect with a future employee, or make a donation by visiting easterseals.com/Southern Cal. That's easterseals.com/Southern Cal.
Hey, boss.
Yeah.
I need to hire someone. Our workload's increased and man, I could use some help.
What are you looking for?
I need someone unlike Ben, who doesn't freak out, when the copier breaks and the phones are down and the receptionist calls in sick.
What do you need?
Leadership. I need a leader who can just get it done with little direction and ahead of time would be great. With the prima donnas floating around our department like Sally and Jason, it's a challenge, man, to get things done. I need a team player, trained in leadership, confident in their abilities, and adaptable to change.
You know, there's only one place you're going to find talent like that.
Show me where.
Our United States veterans. Call Eve right now at 619-244-3000 or log on to thebrave.us and let's hire a veteran. It's good for business. It's good for America.
Brave is a part of America's largest service-disabled veteran-owned business, Merit Consulting. We are dedicated to placing great companies with great veterans. Call today. Welcome back. You're listening to Brave Radio, where we focus on matching veteran talent with innovative companies that make a difference in our community. We are here with Sean Mahoney from the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce. Sean, welcome.
Thanks, Eve. It's great to be here.
I love it. So I've been blessed to be a part of the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce for about 13 months. And it has been a really exciting experience. I think the quality of people that are part of the chamber, the leadership that's a part of the chamber is really interested in helping this community move forward, especially the business community. So give us a little background about the chamber itself.
Sure. The Chamber's an incredible organization. They've been around. They have a really rich history of driving our region forward here in San Diego. A lot of people don't know the Chamber was founded in 1870 by Alonzo Horton.
Oh, my goodness. Like Horton Plaza?
Exactly.
Wow.
And what else around here has been around for 145 years? I mean, that's just incredible.
Right.
Just some of the things that they got done in that time frame, I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of. They led the bond drive to develop Mission Bay Park. They helped to raise the money and also led the bond issue for UCSD, if you can believe that.
Is that right? Oh my goodness!
And then legislation to complete the Coronado Bay Bridge, which I was just looking at this weekend. Beautiful bridge there.
Isn't that stunning?
And also the fundraising for the convention center, and then in the 80s, the bringing the Super Bowl and America's Cup to San Diego.
Wow.
But a lot of folks don't realize the amount of advocacy they do in the military and defense sector also.
Yeah, going to D.C. and Sacramento. Tell us about that.
They currently press issues that support the defense and the defense community, also veterans, and also the military bases, which are such a big part of San Diego. But just one more quick historical point is they actually raised the money and bought the land that became the Naval Training Center in
DC. Oh my
goodness! Which we know brought thousands and thousands of service members to San Diego and introduced them to our wonderful climate and community, and eventually became really a jewel with Liberty Station. So they've been very active in the defense arena for their history, and it's great to be part of the Defense Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, and good to see you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
In the early mornings when we get together for those meetings.
Oh, Dark 100.
Yeah.
And again, it's a very, and I think probably all of the committees within the chamber are active. And so if you're a business owner out there, or if you're a part of a business and you're looking for not only a great networking opportunity, but a great way to plug into the community and make a difference, there's a lot of chambers that you can choose from out there. And I believe the Greater San Diego Chamber of Commerce has done a phenomenal job of impacting our community. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the Military Committee. Talk about that.
Okay, the Defense Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, really our role is to help connect the business community to veterans issues in partnership, of course, with the whole chamber. We have major partners on the committee, including businesses, nonprofits that support veterans, and also government agencies and representatives of government elected officials that are on the committee.
Duncan Hunter represented there, Rocky Chavez. We've got folks from the military, the high-ranking officers from the military. I mean,
right, and universities, Point Loma Nazarene University, SDSU. I mean, we have a great representatives.
General Dynamics was there, the new president of the SDMAC.
Right, we just had that excellent NASCO brief, another organization with an incredible history and also very important to our community, that business. We also the DVM is really focused on making sure the veterans.
That's Defense Veterans Military Affairs Committee.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. The Defense Veterans Military Affairs Committee is focused on making sure that the veterans can transition into the regional workforce. So that's a big part of what we do.
We've got 2,500 members of the Greater San Diego, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I've heard, in this chamber. And those companies represent, if they just had one job each, that could be 2,500 veterans that we could put to work. So that is part of the focus of the Defense Veterans Military Affairs Committee, DVM committee.
Right. And we like to encourage businesses to give veterans a chance by interviewing them, making sure they're a good fit for their company. And one of the latest ways that we're doing that is through the Veteran Honor Roll program.
So why is it, before we get into that, why is it important for a company to hire a vet?
Well, I think veterans are a great asset for a company. They're punctual, they're professional, they're dedicated, they're focused on the mission of the company. Once they leave the service, they're focused on your mission. And they're team players, and they all take pride in their work. So it's really a great asset for the region. We have 20,000 service members leaving the service here every year. About 6,000, 7,000 of those service members stay here.
My goodness.
And they bring those skills that they've learned, their background, and communication skills, teamwork, everything to the organization.
You know, sometimes people, Sean, say, well, I don't know about hiring a veteran because they're just used to taking orders. And in our next segment, we're going to talk about your work with 0800, and we'll talk a little bit more about your service and your work with our military. But talk about why this veteran, if I hire them, is just an order taker. They have no ability to think outside the box. Can you kind of debunk that myth for us?
I think one of the first things I learned when I entered the service was trained initiative. And it was really emphasized for us that you have to get the mission done no matter what. So it's not a veteran is not a passive person who's sitting around waiting for an order. They know what the end game is. They know what the goal is and the mission, and they do what it takes to succeed. So if they encounter a challenge or a hurdle or an obstacle in the way, they're the first ones to get out there and figure out a way around it or a way to overcome that.
So they do a lot with very little.
They do.
Right? There's not a lot of resources that might be available to them at the time. Say they're in Afghanistan or you know, some godforsaken place. They have to move from here to there. Phil Kendrow, I think you know him, was talking about how he had to move an entire airfield in the middle of the desert from point A to point B with little to no resources. And yet he did it and moved it 5 miles down the road. So I think what you're saying is true. And I think there's a lot of education I think that we need to do within the San Diego business community around why I should hire veterans, and also tearing down those myths, especially around PTSD. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have Marjorie Morrison on to talk more about that. But I think the Chamber does an excellent job, and we're moving forward in that education piece this year too, of helping educate companies why they should hire veterans, how and where they can find these veterans. So again, It's a great opportunity. You're listening to Brave Radio here on KCBQ AM 1170, streaming live on the web at am1170theanswer.com. Follow us on Twitter at BraveJobs or like us on Facebook and stay up to date with the latest news and trends. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, here with Sean Mahoney from the Greater San Diego Chamber of Commerce. So tell us more about the Chamber in our committee.
Great. Well, one of the things the committee felt was that what is really the role of the Chamber as far as supporting veterans? What's a great thing for them to do? And as you mentioned, they have so many businesses, so many excellent businesses that are members of the Chamber. So why not encourage them to hire veterans? Why not actually make that a priority for the Chamber? So one of the key policy priorities of the Chamber is supporting that military transition. And what better way than to incentivize and recognize businesses that step up to hire veterans. And that's where the Veteran Honor Roll program came from.
That sounds exciting. And I think we need to give a shout out to Jack Harkins for spearheading that effort.
Yeah, Jack is, he was really leading that subcommittee and that work group. Eve, you were on, I know.
It was a pleasure.
To kind of get this thing going and exactly how it would be shaped, what it would become, what incentives there would be.
So let's talk about that. So I'm a company. I'm excited. I'm a part of the Chamber. I've hired a veteran. I hired Sean Mahoney. Wow, that was a great coup. So now what do I get? What's my next step?
Okay, the next step would be to go to sdchamber.org. If you're a member of the Chamber, go ahead and go to sdchamber.org. And there's a little search button there, and go ahead and search for Veteran Honor Roll. And you can apply right there with a simple application form showing that you just hired a veteran. You have to have that veteran employed for 90 days or more.
Okay.
And then you can go ahead and submit that application to the Chamber's public policy staff, and you identify the level of hiring. So if you hired one veteran, that's terrific. You would be in the honor roll status, so that's what you would be applying for, and that would.
What do I get? Do I get a sticker? What do I get?
Yeah,
trophy.
You get a great decal to put in your storefront or on the web or on your promotional items. Now, a lot of people boast in the business world that they're veteran friendly, and a lot of times we kind of have to say, well, what does that really mean?
Yes, right.
And what have you done for veterans lately, kind of thing. Well, this is a way of actually you've shown that you've done something for veterans, and the chamber has verified that, and they're going to give you this. They have a great, we have a great sticker that's supplied to that business for the storefront. So if you have a dry cleaner or what have you, just put it right there. And it shows that you're a veteran-friendly business. And
you're listed on the website too of the chamber. Is that right?
You'll be listed. You'll be highlighted in social media from the chamber. You'll be highlighted at the chamber board of directors meeting and on the chamber's website. And then the elected officials in your district will be notified that you are veteran-friendly and that you've achieved the honor roll award status. And then you'll get a letter of congratulations from Jerry Sanders, which is what everybody wants.
Everybody wants that, yes. And you also get to come on this show. So you get to talk about your organization, the veterans that you hire, the impact they've made on your organization, and it's all free and it's all a part of the honor roll.
Right. And then there's an elite status. If 10% of your organization are veterans, then you get the elite status and you get all that we talked about and more. So recognized at chamber events and other
That's so great. So we're running short on time. Anything else you want to add about the chamber or the committee?
The chamber's a great organization. If you want to participate in the honor roll, I'd recommend going to sdchamber.org and go ahead and apply.
Awesome. Sean Mahoney, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. You're listening to Brave Radio, where we focus on matching veteran talent with innovative companies that make a difference in our community and in our nation. Follow us on Twitter at Brave Jobs or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with the latest news and trends. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, and we will be right back after this short break, and we're going to bring you back Sean to talk about an awesome organization called 0800. Don't go away.
Hey, boss.
Yeah.
I need to hire someone. Our workload's increased and man, I could use some help.
What are you looking for?
I need someone unlike Ben, who doesn't freak out, when the copier breaks and the phones are down and the receptionist calls in sick.
What do you need?
Leadership. I need a leader who can just get it done with little direction and ahead of time would be great. With the prima donnas floating around our department like Sally and Jason, it's a challenge, man, to get things done. I need a team player, trained in leadership, confident in their abilities, and adaptable to change.
There's only one place you're going to find talent like that.
Show me where.
Our United States veterans. Call Eve right now at 619-244-3000 or log on to thebrave.us and let's hire a veteran. It's good for business. It's good for America.
Brave is a part of America's largest service-disabled veteran-owned business, Merit Consulting. We are dedicated to placing great companies with great veterans. Call today.
Easter Seals Work First Military and Veteran Services provides free one-on-one personalized employment assistance for local veterans through their Bob Hope Veteran Support Program. Easter Seals' team of employment specialists is dedicated to achieving successful, long-term job placements that benefit both the veteran and the employer. Learn more about how you can receive services, connect with a future employee, or make a donation by visiting easterseals.com/SouthernCal. That's easterseals.com/SouthernCal.
Tired of your employees being late?
There was so much traffic.
Tired of poor excuses and poor presentations?
My kid ate my homework.
Tired of employees just not being able to handle the pressure?
You mean I gotta work a full 8 hours today?
Skip the hassles and excuses and hire individuals that are trained in leadership, confident in their abilities, adaptable to change, and focused on teamwork. Hire a veteran. More than just a patriotic gesture, hiring a veteran of the United States military comes with a host of benefits and tax credits and can provide your company with valuable leadership, organization, and accountability. Allow the Brave to help your progressive business connect with qualified veteran candidates today and find out more by visiting thebrave.us. That's THEBRAVE.us. Welcome back. You're listening to Brave Radio, where we focus on matching veteran talent with innovative companies that make a difference in our community and in our nation. We're here back in studio with the one and only Sean Mahoney. Sean, welcome back.
Thanks, Eve. Appreciate it.
I would love to talk to you about 0800. This is a relatively new program, and the most exciting thing is that it's making an impact with our veterans in transition, actually even before they get out. So we've got Easter Seals and Maurice Wilson's program. We had him on air last week. That was all about Operation Reboot. But those organizations are only after they transition out. You are actually able to touch these guys before they transition out. So you talk a little bit about that.
One important part of our model is that we're a community initiative. So really, it was the San Diego community coming together and saying, what can we do to help close the gap between the many, many service members and their spouses and their families that leave the military and come into the San Diego community to great organizations like you mentioned, Reboot and Easter Seals and Brave, Manpower, many others that want to help service members. But oftentimes when the service members leave the military, they're not aware that there are that many resources and opportunities out there. So we wanted to be able to close that gap. So we stood up a year ago last week. So this is our basically 1 year birthday since implementation.
Happy birthday. Where's my cake?
Thank you. We have set aside some cake for you.
All right.
And really it got started with a community, as I mentioned, it's a community initiative. So we have an operations committee that was representing all the different sectors in San Diego, from education to business. We just talked about the chamber, also the San Diego Military Advisory Council, the Economic Development Corporation, the county, city, the VA, the Navy, Marine Corps. So all these folks got together. Wow. And they came up with a great plan to close that gap. And then we implemented it just 12 months ago, starting with 32nd Street on Naval Base San Diego. And it really took off from there. We expanded to a second class there first week of February of last year. And then we went on to Coronado, Naval Base Coronado. I like to say our proudest day was when we expanded to the Coast Guard in March of last year. Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there because your background in the military is so interesting. You were the sector commander and captain of the port. You were in the Coast Guard for 27 years, flew helicopters, were in leadership. Tell us about your experience in the military, why you decided to join, and what your transition experience was like when you got out. You know, I was drawn to the military. I was really interested in the military academies as a young fella. I used to go to the football games on West Point. At West Point, I'm from New York originally. Okay. So applied to several of the academies, and I ended up choosing the Coast Guard Academy. I really like every service has something that draws something, someone to them. I like the missions of the Coast Guard, that it is one of the 5 armed forces of the United States, but at the same time, they're busy year round, of course, mission oriented with law enforcement and search and rescue and environmental missions. It's just got a really broad mission set, so I really enjoyed that. It was a great lifestyle. We moved out around quite a bit. I started the Coast Guard Academy, as I mentioned, and then I went to a ship for a couple of years, a 378-foot ship that deployed for 2 or 3 months in the Pacific. Wow. It was a great experience. And then from then on, I went to Navy flight school, learned how to fly helicopters, and then moved around the country doing that. And it was great to finish here in San Diego. Yeah, well, we're glad you stayed. Well, it's a great community. And what I found the community of San Diego is really focused on, they're advocates of the military and advocates of the veteran. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're listening to Brave Radio here on KCBQ, AM 1170, streaming live on the web at am1170theanswer.com. Follow us on Twitter @BraveJobs or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with the latest news and trends.
I'm your host, Eve Nasby, here with Sean Mahoney from 0800. So happy birthday to 0800. You guys have expanded into a couple different areas. Tell us more about your program. Who is involved? What are you guys really doing with them that is so different from what their experience with those other organizations?
So we established a memorandum of understanding with Navy Region Southwest, which is responsible for all the Navy bases here in San Diego, and that was a groundbreaking memorandum, the first of its kind in the nation, that allowed our program to be presented at the transition classes on base. So service members, before they get out of the military, about 6 months before they get out, they get a transition class that's a week long, and our program, 0800, which refers to a new day, a new community approach, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's the time of morning colors on the bases when people pause and salute the flag. The community in San Diego wants to pause and take care of the service members and their families as they transition to our community.
So for those civilians who've never been on a base at 0800, everybody just stops.
They stop. If they're walking outside, they'll stop.
I've seen it. They just stop.
Yep. And they turn towards the flag. And hand salute until the bugle calls carry on.
Nice.
If they're in a car, the car stops. So and also evening colors as the flag goes down.
That's awesome.
So it's a beautiful. It's really a great. It just brings patriotism
Yep, it does.
and pride
It does.
of being American to be there. So we really like the name. Now the way that the community wanted to approach this gap is twofold. We have peer navigators that are absolutely critical to our program.
And what is their background?
They are in a Master's of Social Work program, or they have a Master's of Social Work, and they are also veterans, or they've been military spouses or dependents. So they speak the same language.
Right.
They also know how to carry on some motivational interviewing, some conversation with folks, to help them in the different areas that basically apply to veterans wellness. And veterans wellness, as we look at it, is broken into 4 pillars. There's employment and education, which is key for everyone. There's health, of course, basic needs, including finances and things like that. And then there's personal connections or networking, which is also important for employment. So they'll engage the service members if they sign up in the class. They'll engage them a week later by phone, and then they'll call them periodically, maybe every 2 weeks, until a year after they transition from the service. So it's 9 months prior to a year after separation.
That's great.
And then if the service member or spouse has a challenge, they'll connect them to, say, 2 or 3 community resources to help them overcome that challenge.
That's excellent. It sounds a lot like a 2-on-1, only you're hand-holding them through that whole program.
We're basically having a conversation with them.
Yes.
We talk about our taglines, navigate your future. It's their future.
Yes.
It's the service member and the spouse's, future to take hold of and to take initiative and make that transition.
Right.
But we're there to answer many questions, to connect them to things that they weren't aware of, many great opportunities and resources in the community.
I think there's a couple different types of people that are listening right now that are asking themselves, how can I be a part of this? How can I contribute? You've got 5 employees, 8 interns. My first question is there opportunity for folks just like me to come alongside of you and help you volunteer? If so, what are those opportunities?
We really are asking folks if they want to help. We're always open to financial contributions.
Good.
We provide this.
That was my next question. How can we support you financially?
We provide this to the service members and their spouses and families to support their transition for free. And we're constantly talking to foundations to try and raise funds. If anyone's interested in contributing, they can call my number at 858-309-4412. Again, 858-309-4412. As far as interacting with the service members, we're really sticking to our model of having personnel that have a Master's of Social Work or in a Master's Social Work program at either, right now it's at USC, SDSU, and we have an agreement with Cal State San Marcos that we can actually have their interns make the calls as well.
That is outstanding. So tell me one more time. I know we talked about the different locations you're at. Tell us one more time where 0800 is currently functioning, which bases?
We're at 32nd Street, so any transition classes on 32nd Street, 0800 is available to the service member there. Also Naval Base Coronado, Coast Guard Sector San Diego, and then we just recently expanded to the mini career fairs at the Transition Readiness Seminars at Camp Pendleton, and we'll be expanding to Miramar in April. So that's where we are. We're also in 2 community venues. We're at the the Veterans Association of North County up in Oceanside.
Love those guys.
Yeah,
Janice Whitaker,
great bunch.
Sandra
Janice.
Fichter, yes.
Janice has the Career Transition Assistance Program, and we're in there. And then the San Diego Military Family Collaborative has something called the Transition, the Spouse Edition.
Okay.
So it's a shortened transition course geared towards spouses, and spouses can opt into 0800 at that venue.
Excellent. Okay, give us your website and let us know how we can get a hold of you one more time.
Great. Our website is 0800.org. So it's ZERO, the digit 8, 100 spelled out, .org. And that's the best way to get a hold of us, or my number 858-309-4412.
Sean, thank you so much for being a part of our show and representing 0800. And again, give us the website and the phone number one more time in case somebody's driving.
Okay, it's 0800.org and 858-309-4412.
Great. You're listening to Brave Radio, where we focus on matching veteran talent with innovative companies that make a difference in our community and in our nation. Follow us on Twitter at Brave Jobs or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with the latest news and trends. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, and we will be right back after this short break. Don't go away.
Fight like a soldier, rise like a warrior.
Tired of your employees being late?
There was so much traffic.
Tired of poor excuses and poor presentations?
My kid ate my homework.
Tired of employees just not being able to handle the pressure?
You mean I gotta work a full 8 hours today?
Skip the hassles and excuses and hire individuals that are trained in leadership, confident in their abilities, adaptable to change, and focused on teamwork. Hire a veteran. More than just a patriotic gesture, hiring a veteran of the United States military comes with a host of benefits and tax credits and can provide your company with valuable leadership, organization, and accountability. Allow the Brave to help your progressive business connect with qualified veteran candidates today and find out more by visiting thebrave.us. That's THEBRAVE.us.
Easter Seals Work First Military and Veteran Services provides free one-on-one personalized employment assistance for local veterans through their Bob Hope Veteran Support Program. Easter Seals' team of employment specialists is dedicated to achieving successful, long-term job placements that benefit both the veteran and the employer. Learn more about how you can receive services, connect with a future employee, or make a donation by visiting easterseals.com/SouthernCal. That's easterseals.com/SouthernCal.
Hey, boss.
Yeah.
I need to hire someone. Our workload's increased and man, I could use some help.
What are you looking for?
I need someone unlike Ben, who doesn't freak out, when the copier breaks and the phones are down and the receptionist calls in sick.
What do you need?
Leadership. I need a leader who can just get it done with little direction and ahead of time would be great. With the prima donnas floating around our department like Sally and Jason, it's a challenge, man, to get things done. I need a team player, trained in leadership, confident in their abilities, and adaptable to change.
There's only one place you're going to find talent like that.
Show me where.
Our United States veterans. Call Eve right now at 619-244-3000 or log on to thebrave.us and let's hire a veteran. It's good for business. It's good for America.
Brave is a part of America's largest service-disabled veteran-owned business, Amerit Consulting. We are dedicated to placing great companies with great veterans. Call today. Welcome back. I'm your host, Eve Nasby. You're listening to Brave Radio, where we focus on matching veteran talent with innovative companies that make a difference in our community and in our nation. We are here with Daniel Lehman from Military Mondays from right here on KCBQ AM 1170. So, Daniel, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here.
So you are a military veteran. We want to obviously thank you for your service. Tell us about that. Probably a lot of your listeners might not hear a lot about you because you're too busy interviewing other people. So.
And because I don't really like talking about,
well, now's your chance. Ha ha.
So I was in the Marine Corps here out of Miramar.
Mm-hmm.
Born in Hawaii, grew up in LA, joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. Didn't have many other options,
right.
Didn't have a ton of guidance in that sense. And so went into the Marine Corps and overall positive experience. Came down to San Diego, and who wants to leave San Diego?
Right. So, Daniel, tell me about your transition, because a lot of the stuff we talk on our show, we've got John Funk from Easter Seals, we have Maurice coming on talking about helping veterans transition. How was your transition experience?
I kind of randomly fell into what I do. I mean, it's kind of funny now, like, because I do a lot in the community around financial literacy. Most people probably don't. I mean, my job really, it's weird, because when I'm out in the community, people ask what you do, and it's probably the same thing you run into. It's kind of like, how do you really answer that? It's kind of weird, because I do a lot we have the radio show, we have a lot of the organizations and boards that we're associated with and that we serve on, and then there's what we actually do, which in my case, I'm vice president of mortgage lending, so I do a lot with veterans buying homes. So and the reason why that is my transition was kind of all over the place. In the Marine Corps, you're not really taught financial literacy. Right. It's just not the main mission. I think there's a at Miramar. What's her name? Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on who's at MCS Miramar that does. It'll come to me in a second, but she would only have like 3 minutes per year with every single person that she's supposed to serve. Right.
Oh my goodness.
So getting out and figuring all that stuff out was interesting, but now it really kind of drives me to help people navigate that. So I'm rambling. I forgot what your original question is.
We were talking about your
transition.
How do you fall into mortgage once you get out of the Marine Corps?
Here's the thing about me. So I'm very entrepreneurial. So I don't do well in environments where I can't add value and be rewarded for it, which is probably a good reason why I got out of the military. Service was incredibly important to me in the military. I love the tradition of the military. I love nothing better than like a Marine Corps ceremony, right? With the band and with all.
And the uniforms.
Yeah.
What girl doesn't love to see the Marine dress uniform?
Well, come on. That's part of it. But when I fell into kind of the job of the Marine Corps, so I was in avionics, and a lot of my buddies went out and they work for Boeing, or they do this or they do that. I was in aviation electronics. And not that I did this, but if I slept on the desk, I would make the same amount and I would have the same. There was no real added value to my from a personal development standpoint, my belief is that Jim Rohn basically says that your value is directly represented by the amount of value you bring to the marketplace. In other words, your income is kind of like directly represented by. So if you're worth $8 an hour flipping burgers, that's what you'll make, is because that's what you're worth. But if you make yourself better, right? You make more not by going after different jobs, going after different things. You make more by becoming better yourself,
educating yourself.
So you educate yourself, you become better. Whether that's through traditional means like schools, or it's through books, or it's through mentors. So that's kind of what it was. So that's how I kind of fell into mortgage, which has honestly been a real blessing, because it's given me the opportunity to really add value, and through that grow a successful business.
So if we've got a veteran out there today that is looking to buy a house, they want to connect up with you, what services do you provide to them that maybe another type of non-veteran focused person would provide? I
think I can sum that up by saying most people think that it's like when they walk into the bank, they slide paper across the desk, and it's kind of just to throw it against the wall and see if it sticks kind of thing. I think the most overlooked thing that people don't get is planning, is education and planning. So a lot of what we do is just educating our clients on how things work. It's one thing to understand what you qualify for. It's a completely different thing to understand not just what, but why, so you can be educated on it and included in the process. So it's a very educational approach. Obviously, concepts around not just serving the VA loan, but serving the veteran. There's a lot of banks that serve the VA loan. We serve the veteran because we understand what deployment means. We understand what PCSing could potentially mean. Right. We understand the back, and we understand how to advise veterans on those kind of things. So I like to say, if you go to a bank directly, it's kind of like going to court and representing yourself. You're kind of just standing in front of a judge, and you may or may not say the right thing, but you don't really know. And we end up being kind of that person's representation. They tell us everything, we structure it in their best interest, and we present it in a way that the outcome is going to be good for them. Customized solutions. I love it. Yeah. You're listening to Brave Radio here on KCBQ AM 1170, streaming live on the web at am1170theanswer.com.
Follow us on Twitter at Brave Jobs or like us on Facebook to stay up to date with the latest news and trends. I'm your host, Eve Nasby, here with my good friend Daniel Lehman from Military Mondays. So we talked about your background and what you do for a living, but now you are giving back to the community through your program called Military Mondays. Talk about that.
Military Mondays was like kind of just an idea because as things kind of wind down, for lack of a better term, I mean, I guess the thought is that the war effort it's not as public, I guess.
Yeah.
It's certainly not how it was when people were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, when it was in the throes of that. But there's such a need for collaboration, which is why I appreciate being on your show also. It's just there's such a need for collaboration, and you see it in the community. And I think San Diego does an amazing job of collaborating organizations. You had Sean in from 0800, you've had Maurice in, you've had all these. And then you have these situations like, especially like the San Diego Military Families Collaborative, where all these organizations kind of come together and they're truly working for the best interest of the veteran. So we wanted to have something like that was much more of an information brokerage. So a lot of times we'll have people come to us and say, hey, what would make a good show? And we're really just focused on what can we do to support the veteran and the organization that supports the veteran. Right.
Well, so for those of you who are listening and thinking, I can't hire a veteran because they can only take orders and do one thing, you've got Daniel who's kind of blowing the mold.
Man, there's a lot of them though, isn't there? I mean, you see this all the time with the Brave program. I mean, it's like I was 8. I mean, I don't know if I want to talk about myself. I've got buddies that were 18 years old handling millions and millions and millions of dollars. And one of the big things when people get out, I mean, you may have a guy that was in charge of, a supply chain thing. I mean, and he doesn't even see his value. Right. Take a cue. I mean, as employers, take a cue from us in the lending world. In the lending world, you have to have 2 years experience. You don't have to have 2 years on the job. You have to have 2 years of experience to use the income. But when you're coming out of the military, it's so diverse. It's so vast that we can always connect those dots. Right. Because even if somebody may be coming out of aviation and going into supply or going into some other segment of the, there's still so much that they've done in terms of management, in terms of leadership, in terms of everything that the military provides these young guys. That it's a diverse.
And you've had everybody on your show. I mean, you've got some great high-level folks. You've got politicians, you've got business owners, you've got veterans, you've got authors. You just interviewed the author of Shot Down.
Steve Snyder,
you've got a lot of great things going on. So I encourage our listeners to tune into your show from 6 to 8 on Monday nights, Military Mondays. So tell me, what's the next step for you with Military Mondays? I saw you on the Craig Sewing show.
Yeah, so we actually have had such a great time and great success with Military Mondays that we're actually looking at and starting a military television show called, prospectively being called Operation American Dream.
We won't hold you to it, but
yeah. It's probably going to be called Operation American Dream, but we've got a studio and we've got some time slots lined up and we've got all this stuff where I feel like it can really continue this story of being a real asset to the veteran community. And really continue to serve veterans. I mean, that's like the big aha for me in terms of business is, we very much see our job as serving the community, and anything that we do from a business standpoint is just a byproduct of that service.
So if businesses, organizations that are supporting veterans want to become a part of your show, how do they get a hold of you?
Best way is just to check us out on www.military-mondays.com, www.military-mondays.com, and reach out to us that way.
And if you're a veteran and you're looking to, or a veteran spouse, and you're looking to buy a home, again, how are they getting a hold of you?
Probably the best way it would be just to email me. So my email address is dlehman, so D as in Daniel, Lehman, at letter S, number 1 lending, s1lending.com.
Well, Daniel, we are running out of time. I want to thank you again for taking the time to be on our show today. Thanks for all that you do for our veterans, and we hope to have you back.
Thank you so much.
I'm Eve Nasby, and you've been listening to Brave Radio here on KCBQ, AM 1170, The Answer. If you want to find out more about how you can hire top veteran talent, or if you're interested in being a guest on our show, visit our website at www.thebrave.us. That's www.thebrave.us. Send us a tweet at Brave Jobs or like our Facebook page. From all of our guests and me, thanks for joining us. And until next Monday, may God bless our veterans and God bless America.
Thanks for listening to Brave Radio. If you know a veteran looking for work, or if your company is hiring, call Eve at Brave at 619-244-3000. Give her a tweet at Brave Jobs and connect with them on Facebook. To be a guest on the show, visit thebrave.us.